Hello, everyone. This is Fay Michelle with Comfort Legacies. And today we have Syed Hassan with us, and he's going to be sharing with us a little bit about himself and his book. So I will turn it over to you and let us know a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Thank you, Faye. So a little background about me. I am an aerospace engineer by profession. I've been working at NASA for the last 16 years. Started off as the lead for human spaceflight support at Goddard Space Flight Center here in Maryland. And 6 years ago, I switched gears and I'm now the lead collision avoidance engineer for a large fleet of satellites that NASA operates. So I've been working there for a long time. My parents, since I was very young, always made sure that they instilled education in us. They had a very deep focus on education, so they always pushed to keep us in the talented and gifted programs for elementary school and middle school, and then switched over to a science and technology program for high school, and then went over to University of Maryland to receive a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and I'm currently working on my PhD in aerospace engineering. And while I was doing all this, as a youngster, we were also attending Sunday school, every Sunday for our local community mosque. So I went to Sunday school as well, all the way from age 4 up to age 15. So when I started working, I graduated from undergrad and I started working in the professional environment. I wanted to give back to the community. Therefore, I started teaching at the Sunday school at the age of 21. And I actually taught there for many, many years. And then I became the vice principal of the school. Then I became the principal of the school. And just currently took a lead role in the advisory panel of the school, overlooking the programs and the education and so on. So I worked with kids for a very long time, 18, 19 years. I've been working with young children all the way from age 4 to age 16 who are enrolled in the school. And when you work with kids so closely and you see kids grow up from a small age and they remain in the school all the way into a large age, you see how children evolve, you see how their personalities are, you see differences in different children based on the families they grew up in. And the children that attended the school were from all types of backgrounds. Any background you can think of, white, black, Asian, all types of backgrounds, Spanish. So we're working with all these kids from different cultures. And, one thing I realized is that the more, maybe I'm getting a little bit further than I should. I'm giving my own.
No, keep going. Keep going.
One thing I was able personally to realize working with all these children so closely is that, the more different cultures interact with each other, the more chances you have for betterment of society. Because one thing I firmly believe in is that since you can't change the past, you should try to use your present to influence the future as much as possible. In what better way to do that than to start with the children? So that's why I came up with this book series, where it's about a young child who gets to travel with his father to different countries as he goes for work. And as he goes to these countries, he learns about the different cultures. I mean, he learns about how they greet, how they dress, what sports they play, what different type of animals they have there, what the ancient cities look like. And as they learn about that, a young child reading that, if they're reading a book about somebody, traveling to China, and they learn all about what they do over there and how they interact over there and what the culture is like over there, I feel like when they get older and they actually meet somebody from China for the first time, they'll know a little bit about that person. And as an impact, I think if I cover enough countries, it can, in this book gets promoted as much as I hope that it does. In a way, this book in itself can try to help, end racism throughout, globally, because I plan on once I'm done with all the books here and publish them in America, I plan on doing the same thing in different countries in their language, where Solomon travels from their country to America and into other countries and so on. So, I personally am completely against racism. In my religion, we are taught deeply that no one person is better than another based on race. The only thing that can make one person better than the next is their righteousness and their belief in God and how they live their life. Not, one white person is not better than a black and the other way around, not better than a brown or yellow. It all just comes down to righteousness. So whatever I can do, whatever part I can play in society by trying to help end racism, I would love to, and I would love to start with the children, those that I'm familiar with.
Okay. So what's your work schedule like with all of that going on? And, you're being an aerospace engineer and trying to get in some books. Do
Yeah.
you work a full-time or part-time, long hours? What's your schedule? Well, right now I understand that we're in, have you been impacted by COVID, or have you been going to work as an essential worker?
No, I mean, I am considered an essential worker, but luckily we have systems where we could log in from home. So since COVID started about a year ago, I've been working from home full time. And my job is pretty flexible. There's no work hours in space. There's no holidays or weekends in space. If we're facing a threat for a potential conjunction with a satellite, it has to be worked. And those come up quite often. So that allows me flexibility on when I can work. But for the most part, try to cover, a 9 to 5 as far as meetings go. But besides that, the operational support, it can come up at any time. Well, with that flexibility, it allows me, gives me time to put in towards my books or towards my PhD or whatever else that I'm pursuing.
That's right, your PhD. So when did you write your book?
So I thought of this idea. It's been probably close to 9 years ago is when I first thought of the idea, and I started writing books for various different countries. And I had to decide which country do I want to publish first from all the transcripts that I started to write. And I knew I was gonna, to be honest, I started off submitting transcripts to different children literary agencies. And, a lot of them came back and said that it's an excellent idea, but we just can't take on anything new right now. And I remember reading an article once about Curious George. I read a lot of Curious George when I was a kid, and how the author, spent, I don't want to quote, but it was several years trying to submit their transcript to different agencies, and everybody would just reject it until they finally got it through, and then look how big of a hit it turned out to be. And that kind of was like motivation for me to just keep going, not give up just because I can't find an agency. I shouldn't just give up on this project and this dream of mine, which I think can help impact the world. So after a while, I started thinking, let me just self-publish. And I started looking for different ways to self-publish. And to me, Amazon self-publishing just made the most sense. And I know Amazon has just a huge marketplace. I mean, my brother had a pretty high position at Amazon himself. He now works for Facebook, but I was very familiar with how many people you can reach with Amazon and promotional products that are associated. So with all the transcripts that I wrote, I started looking into, who I should first publish with, what country Solomon should go to. And I saw that, my parents, their background is from Pakistan, and the cultural background for Pakistan is very similar to India. Unfortunately, there's no set Amazon in Pakistan. However, there is one in India, which is very large. So to me, it made the most sense to make my first book with Solomon traveling to India. I have a lot of friends from India, but of course I have a lot of family and friends from Pakistan. So that was kind of the question they came to me with once I published this book, like, oh, why did you start off with India? Why didn't you start off with Pakistan, your homeland? And I told them the reason. It was kind of a strategy to hit the right market, but at the same time, I'm very familiar with the culture of India, so it made it a little bit easier for me to finalize this book. But yeah, to answer your question, I've been writing these books over the last 9 years. I've only published the India one so far. I will be publishing Solomon Travels to Japan very soon. And there's also a very high market in Japan for Amazon. Actually, apparently a lot of my sales for this India book have been in Japan as I go through and read the reports, which has been fairly interesting. So to me, that's good to see since I plan on publishing the Japan one next. But
Okay.
it's been a long time coming, yeah.
Been a long time. Okay. So, but what was your initial published date? When did you actually hit that button?
Uh, I have to go back and check, but I believe I published this book about a year and a half ago.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah.
just before the pandemic.
With Amazon, they allow you to have promotions. You know, every month I believe they give you 5 days worth of promotions. So Kindle has a huge marketplace. So I definitely took advantage of that. And those with Kindle Unlimited, when you run these promotions, they get a chance to read the book for free. So I
Yeah.
noticed every time I would put this promotion up, I would get just a lot of views and a lot of people reading the book. And I think as a result, once people would see it on Kindle, some people may decide, hey, I really like this book. So they'll just end up ordering the paperback so they have it at home. The next thing I did as far as tips is since this book is geared towards children, you know, specifically, I would say between the ages of 4 and 9 years old, we're talking about, you know, elementary school for the most part. I shared the link and I gave a little bit of background on myself and how I came up with the story on Facebook on a lot of different groups where you have different teachers from all over the country. And some teachers actually saw the link and they ordered the book and they read it to their class. And then, you know, other teachers in the school also picked up and so on. I also did book readings. My daughter is 7 years old, so I did a few book readings with different elementary school teachers where I would talk about the book and I would have my daughter read it out and show the pictures, and all the kids really loved it. And you know, a lot of times the parents will get that feedback from the child and they'll order the book for their house. So I've really been trying to push this first book as much as I can before I come out with the next. But you know, my aim is to publish a few of these and maybe even take it to the next level where I can go to a literary agency and say, and actually show them my work, not just a transcript, and say, look, I self-published these books. I've had a really good result. I got really good reviews, a lot of good feedback, and I would love, for you to take this on and hire a, you know, a very professional illustrator and turn this into something a lot more than it is now. Now, for these illustrations, I pretty much had to come up with everything on my own. I have a illustrator that I work with who's a contractor, but each one of these pictures I pretty much drew up by hand. I gave them an idea of what I want, and then after that, we're talking about 7, 8 revisions for each page just to get it right. Whereas I'm sure if I take this book and I give it to a professional illustrator, at least now they have an idea of what it is that I'm trying to show, and you know, they can even come up with a more, you know, a more improved book. I would think, because of course illustrations is key when it comes to targeting children. But I think my illustrator did an excellent job, and some of these pictures I think came out really nice.
So, where did you find your illustrator?
Just doing a lot of research online, I came across somebody from Fiverr, who was a contracting website, and she had really good reviews, and I saw some of her work in the past, and I spoke to her. I spoke to probably 5 or 6 different illustrators, and the one I ended up finding, I think, was the best, and I really liked the work she put together. And it takes more time to do it this way. You know, 27-page book along with the cover, 28 illustrations, probably took me a good 3 months. You know, and I've been working on the Japanese ones for over 2 months now, and we should be done pretty soon. Whereas if you end up going with a publishing company, which costs a lot of money, but if you have a literary agency and you sign a deal with them, I'm sure the turnaround time can be a lot faster, where you can just be pushing out books every month. You know.
I've talked to a few people. They do have their illustrators on hand, and maybe they'll get closer to what you want the first time, less revisions, perhaps, maybe, or maybe you just trust them more. But I've talked to a few authors. They've all been very happy with what they've gotten, but it hasn't been really a speedy process, though.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, the hope is if I ever do go, I may stick with self-publishing, but if I ever do go down that route, at least I have illustrations that I like ready for each page, and they'll have a very good starting point rather than, you know, starting from scratch. So
Yes.
hopefully,
Yes.
you know,
Basically, that's exactly what we do. What I do, I like to talk about your experience and your journey. And that's why I kept saying, well, when did the book, when did you actually get it done and whatnot? So it took you about 9 years of birthing this babe, and then you finally delivered it. And what was that experience like when you got that book in your hand?
oh, it was definitely nice, 'cause, you know, with so many years coming, and you start writing something, and you know, you just, you know, in the beginning you don't know if it's going to materialize into something or not, but you just keep pushing through and looking for avenues. For me, you know, I've never been an author before I started writing this book. I've had some friends who worked um, in the children's literary field, so I would get feedback from them and get tips and advice from them as much as I could. But this was my first time taking on something, and in my mind, I always thought I didn't even really know about self-publishing. I would get emails that if you want to self-publish this, you can, but I didn't think the product would come out very nice, and you know, I just wasn't familiar with that process. So in my mind, I was thinking, okay, until a literary agency picks up my transcript and takes on this project, it may just never happen. So when I was able to put it all together myself using my own computer and my own tools and my own illustrations, and I got that book in the mail and I opened it up, it was definitely an excellent feeling to see that, wow, I, you know, finally put this all together and the final product and someone could purchase it and keep it in their home. And it just motivated me to just keep going nonstop. I just want to make a book for every single country in the world.
So, is it a hard copy or a soft copy?
Right now, it's a soft copy. You know, I have a example here of the book. It's a soft
Okay.
copy with soft pages. Hard copy is also an option. It's a lot more expensive, and it'll be a lot more expensive for those who buy it. So I wanted to start off with this, but you know, I'm definitely open to anything in the future. I'm still going through the experimental phase.
What size did you select?
So there's so many different options for sizes, and I had to select the size. I don't know the exact dimensions, but I had to select the size that ended up making sense for my illustrations, because I got the illustrations done first before I selected the size. So a tip, you know, for somebody out there who's going through the same process, they may want to do it the other way around. I
Yes.
personally kind of prefer the book that's more square shaped, but I ended up going with the rectangle shape because those are the illustrations that I had. And if I wanted to switch to something that's more square shaped, I'll have to go back to the illustrator and just redo everything again because it wouldn't make sense. All of my illustrations are actually, you know, based off this. It's probably hard to see, but based off.
Oh no, you can say.
I think it did come out nice, and I think a hard copy would be even nicer. But just looking at the prices that I'll have to go with, I want to keep it pretty affordable, you know, at least for now, while people are reading it and reviewing it and so on. But a hard copy version, I think, would definitely be nicer if I do that in the future.
I was thinking of getting hard copies just for myself, to keep in the library, rather than providing the hard copies for the client or the customer, because they are more expensive. But however, I have been coming across a lot of authors who have done it different ways, and they have kind of fished out those imperfections, and so I might be able to do it without going to where the book is printable for like $8 or $9.
Right.
So I might have to, and that's part of what we do, get to know what everybody's doing and share, so that it could be full circle, helping you get to where you need to go or whatever you're lacking. Because getting to know all that can help someone else. So yeah. This is my book, right? Gotta have, that's one of them. I did one of 7, or it's a series. But this is an 8 by 10. right? And then I did this one, which is what is this? It's an activity book, right? And this is like a 10 by 11, I think. And the girl that I was working with, my publicist, she wanted it to stay the same, to keep the book the same when we did the activity book. And I said, no, because when I send them, I'm going to send them as like, I might give one book away, like an activity book to go along with it. And I wanted to make a distinction between the two. It wasn't that much more to print out, maybe 50 cents more, and with the color pages and whatnot. So the size, one thing I like about KDP is that the size really doesn't matter as far as the pricing is concerned. It's really your preference. And not a lot anyway. So it's good that you mentioned to know what size books you want before you give it to your illustrator, because I don't know if the burden is on them to ask, but definitely KDP does ask, what is it, bleed, is it full color, and what size, because it really does matter how they illustrate and how they prepare that illustration for you as to what's going to fit in that template. So definitely choose something that's in the template.
Yeah, and when I started with my illustrations, I didn't even know about KDP. So
Yeah.
I was pretty much done with all my illustrations, and I was looking for different ways of how to publish this, and I came across KDP, and luckily one of the sizes just ended up working out just right. I was concerned. I was trying different ones, and I thought I was going to have a big problem here, and just one of those sizes ended up working out just right for my illustrations, and I was able to use that for the paperback as well as for the Kindle format.
Yeah, and they really don't tell you, like when you're at Fiverr, they just will do whatever you ask, and sometimes it just, it escapes them. So you really do have to have some facts. Did the same person that did your illustration do your formatting?
Yes. Well, okay. I had to do some formatting on my own as well afterwards with the raw illustrations. But
okay.
For the most part.
That being said, whenever you get your illustrations done, you can send your illustrations to a formatter, and they will format your book to meet those specs.
I see. That could have probably saved me a lot of time.
A lot of time. Probably would have cost you about $30, and that's what it would have been. And they would format your book. Whenever I have any goofs, I send it straight to my format. I tried one way, and it was murder.
Yeah, I did a lot of that on my own, and it took a lot of time. So where would you recommend that I go out and find a formatter?
Oh, same place where you were. Okay. Yes, you can get a formatter, and oh my gosh, it's like heaven. I mean, I don't even want to attempt to do it because it's so easy. I just send my stuff. Hey, can you format this for me? Boom. Yep. For which platform do you want it for? And on top of that, not only do you get the format, you get your Mobi file to go with it. Well, at least with my guy, I got the Mobi file and everything. He charges me a little bit more, but everything comes with it. I didn't even know about what the Mobi file was, and I was just like, okay, yeah, I'll just take that too. I dumped it in my little trash, and finally, when I realized, okay, I want to go unlimited, I pulled them all out the trash, and it was wonderful. It really is, So now, how long have you had your books on KDP as far as the unlimited? Have you had it on there long enough to get paid?
Yeah, yes, I have. I've had it on there from the beginning.
Okay, so wait a minute, unlimited?
So, yeah, to my understanding, if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can see it you can read it as much as you want. When I run the promotions, those with Kindle get to read it for free.
Okay, ask you about, because I'm on Unlimited. I just did it recently. And I don't quite understand the payment process, because I know that it's probably 0.45% or whatever per page, but what does that look like when it actually is all said and done? Because it takes about 60 days, right, for it to go through and whatnot.
You mean as far as how much?
As far as the pay?
Yeah. For me, that's definitely not anywhere near the majority of the pay that I receive. It's more from the paperback and some from Kindle.
Right.
I think you need to get into very high volume before you actually get significant amount of payout for the Kindle Unlimited. And I get those emails where, we just ended our term and those who are in the top X% are going to get this much. And I get those emails that say, wow, that's a lot of money. Oh, let me see if I made it in there.
Right.
It just won't be that, close to what I'm thinking. But I think for those who publish books who are bestsellers, they end up getting a good chunk of that amount. And I think that's the whole intent of why they do the Unlimited, to try to promote authors to get on there and reach that level. So it'll make it worthwhile for those people who are signing up for it and they're paying for it. I hope to be there one day, but to be honest, from what I get out of that, it's not that significant. My sales are more geared for the paperback and the Kindle sales.
Right. So, I mean, with the children's books and having maybe 30 or 40 pages, when you're on Unlimited, Kindle Unlimited, you don't even get the 40 pages. You only get 20 pages because when you open it up, it's considered one page.
Right.
So I think, for example, when I first put all of the books on, I got like 80 downloads, maybe that's what it is. Because they give you that double tiered platform, right? They tell you where the books were downloaded, and then they give you the pages amount.
Yeah.
So it's probably like maybe 300 pages. But as far as the math is concerned, I don't know because it hasn't been on there long enough for it to, get a royalty, because it's going to take 60 days or whatever. So I really don't know. And I'm trying to tell people, I'm advising them to, when their books are just sitting, to upload them to Unlimited, and then, let people read them for free and direct them there. And, but I don't know if I'm sure it's not extremely profitable, but at least it's doing something, and it's getting out there and it's getting eyes on it. And perhaps, like you said, they will turn around and buy the paperback.
Yeah, and that's the experience that I've had. I think a lot of people who ended up purchasing it read it for free first, and then they liked it, and they said, okay, let me order a copy of the book. I personally have heard that from several people in response to the book. So that's my intent. As far as, how much the royalty is, I think I may not be the best author to answer that question, whereas others may have, reached some of those marks.
But you still think that it's worth doing?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, if I make a nice amount of change off this book, that's great. But also at the same time, I want to get this message out to as many people as I can throughout the world.
Right.
Even if it means I don't even get a penny out of it, I will still do it, because I just think it'll be so beneficial for mankind, for these young children to understand each other from a young age. Because, studies have shown that, a child up to the age of 7 or 8, what you teach them then, it stays with them for the rest of their life.
Yes.
So, and I have 2 daughters, one is 7 and one is 4, and my wife and I, we talk about this all the time, that what we expose our children to at this young age, it's going to stick with them. And, as we get older, we see that ourselves. We know that a lot of our personality and what we do and how we interact with others is a direct result of our upbringing and what our parents exposed us to when we were young. So, money is great, but I want to get this out there to as many people as possible, because I think it'll have a positive impact, and that's my aim.
Yes. When I uploaded to the Unlimited, I uploaded all of 7 books all at one time, like boom, 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 no strategy, just upload them so they can be there. So Amazon does, I guess they do some kind of algorithm where they'll put you out there up front, for a while. And then after that dies down, then, you may not see another look or seek or anything, unless you're putting, I guess, advertisement toward it, which I have not ventured into. So I want to make sure that when I'm advising, at least to have some type of understanding of how that process works for them. And I've done it myself too. So until I see what the turnaround will be, I won't really know. But I wasn't sure that I believe that it was a good total way of doing it, because I noticed that when I started the paperback, I would see the paperback, but now I don't see the paperback. I only see the Kindle Unlimited, and then it has a little footnote down there that says available also in paperback. So
Yeah, you have to click it, and so a lot of times when I share my link, um, and I sent you my link as well,
yes,
before we got on here. I usually click paperback on Amazon, and then I share the link because a lot of
oh,
people use Kindle. So when they click it, if I'm posting it on Facebook or Instagram, then
right.
I'll automatically take them to the paperback. And I think majority of the people that are clicking it are probably interested in ordering the paperback,
Yes,
but they don't use Kindle. Even though if you don't have Kindle, you can still purchase the Kindle and still view it online in digital format. Um, I think in my aim is to have more paperback copies sold and people actually have this at home so they can read it to their children,
yes,
they can read it to their nephews, and then other parents can see it and say, hey, I want a copy, for my home as well. So I mean, but yeah, to answer your question, I think it's definitely worthwhile to have it on KDP Unlimited. I think those who pay for that service pretty much look for books that are free anyway. Um,
hmm,
so you're just targeting a whole different audience, and it doesn't hurt to target them and let them read it for free. And if they really like it, there's a chance that they'll actually order a copy.
yeah. I was thinking that Amazon is really brilliant. So they have us. I have unlimited KDP or unlimited Kindle only because I have the books on there. So I had to get it in order to see it once I uploaded it. So that's kind of a good little marketing strategy as well,
Yeah.
just to see if my books are on there. So what is the best way of marketing, do you think?
So Amazon offers also different promotional products. The feedback that I've received from a lot of authors, and I haven't really explored this yet. I haven't got into it yet, but that's maybe my next step. I'm probably waiting to publish one more book, but it's to have an excellent website with a
Mm,
really a really attractive landing page. And then once you
okay.
get all that set up, then you pay with Google advertising using keywords and so on, and try to promote that as much as possible because Google. I mean, I've ran businesses in the past, and I've tried many different forms of advertising, and some were good. But when it comes to marketing on Google with your AdWords, I mean
Yeah.
that you can target an audience, you could reach a very large amount of people. So instead of just using the Amazon link, using your landing page to direct you to that link where the book sale is, and then using Google for promotions. That's the feedback that I've received from others, but I can't say that myself. From what I've done so far, I just try to take advantage of free social media as much as possible. Facebook has so many different groups with so many different children's groups and authors groups and teachers groups, and some of them have 50, 60, 70,000 people on there, and you could put a post on there as long as the moderator thinks it's appropriate, they'll approve it, and now you have your link out there for people to comment on and click on and order the book if they feel that they will like it. I think I can hit a bigger audience once I have multiple books, so people see it as a series rather than just a single book. So it's not just about teaching their children about India, they're teaching their children about several different countries. And they may be interested in buying 10, 15 different books, the countries that they're interested in. I didn't target only parents because a lot of adults have read this book and they've actually learned a lot about the country. And
Yeah.
those who want to travel to India, I mean, honestly, it's a really good travel guide before you make that trip. I spent,
Really?
yeah, those 9 years I was talking about. I mean, it seems like a simple book with 27 pages and a couple sentences per page, but the amount of research that I put into each page. It's, I can't even go back and define the amount of time I put in, because I wanted to make sure that I'm actually capturing the culture correctly. So in 2 sentences where I'm talking about what they're eating, I want to make sure I'm covering something that's a social norm for, what the common folk in that country eat there. So if you go and meet somebody from India and you mention the meal that you read in this book, they'll probably smile like, "Oh yeah, I eat that at home all the time." Or when I used to live in India, this is what we used to always eat when we went out. Or when I talk about the type of clothes that they wear, I want to make sure that I did a large amount of research to make sure that this is the most common type of clothing that you can find over there, even in modern society. That if you go over there and you want to put on something to fit in a little more, this is what you would wear. And that's what Solomon does. He goes to the store and, the clerk gives him this outfit and then he says, he feels right at home amongst his friends and so on. And each one of the pages has a different aspect of the culture, and a lot of research went in, including research online, as well as talking to many people from that country, talking to people who currently live in that country and so on.
Wow. Amazing. I love it.
Okay, take care, Faye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.